it's Tara here with Create Life Paper Words, and this is the very end of my travel album to Hawaii. So this encompasses Wednesday and the very beginning of Thursday, which was the last part of our travel. So what I'm working on right now is doing some stuff with the fuse. I wanted to put in a map in regards to the last thing that we did, which was the road to Hana. It's an absolutely amazing drive, and for anyone who hasn't been on it, very, very twisty and very windy. And I knew after reading a little bit about it that if I didn't go on this, that I'd probably come home and regret it. So I was really glad that we had gone on this on the last day that I was there. So like I said, I wanted to do a map, so that's what that little pocket is. And this day definitely had the most pictures of anything that I did, so I've got quite a few pages for it. I did want to back it onto some paper, my map, just so that it was a little sturdier, so that's why you see that piece of blue cardstock in there. So I'm just working on getting my 4x6 pictures together. I wanted to do very little embellishment. These pictures turned out really nicely. I was really happy with how they came out. So I didn't really want to do a lot of embellishing on them. I just wanted, you to be able to see the pictures and all of that. And I'm doing quite a few of the waterfall cards on this date, just because I have so many pictures and my album is already pretty full, that I wanted to be able to not have it, exploding out. So what I've been finding, after doing quite a few of these extra pockets in my album, is that if you fuse along where it's already joined, so where the pockets are joined, I've been finding that works the best. On I think it was like the second video or something like that, I had tried fusing at that very top where there's that extra little flap, and I was just finding it was not working right. And the reason it wasn't working very well is because it got very like it puckered a bit, and so nothing fit properly. So what I found is if you fuse it on that sort of, I guess, like the spine where it's joined with those little dots, it works really, really well. And then I just use my bone folder. And I use my bone folder just to fold it down to give it a bit of a crease in there so that it turns nicely. So that's the first day done. I did a little bit of journaling about the road to Hana and what we did on the way. The next one that I'm doing is we went to this park where the Black Sand Beach was, which I absolutely loved. They were just so beautiful. It was so neat to see the black with the water rushing over. My only wish was that it was a little less or a little more calm the day that we had gone. It was fairly rough with the waves and everything. But what I decided to do is very much the same. I want to make another little pocket. So there I am using my fuse, and again I'm going up the little sort of spine part of it. The reason I did that is because I had wanted to do, I picked up some of the black sand, so I had wanted to do a little shaker pocket of the sand like I had done for the other beach sand one. I had also wanted to do a pocket that was clear, so that you could see through to the next side. So what I decided to do, I had taken a picture of the name of the state park because I knew that I would not be able to spell it again later. So I was trying to decide if I would just cut the picture down a little bit and staple it in there. And then I decided to use thickers. So I have the thickers in white, and I just adhered them right to the outside of the pocket. And I centered them as best as I could, without, it taking me too long to do so. And then that way you can still see the next page that'll be through that. And I really like how that looks. I really like to have a lot of different layers and different textures and sizes and that kind of stuff with my albums. So as you can see here, I totally messed up with my stamping. What happened is I sort of spun the block as I was pushing down, so it smudged a bit. And then, so all I did was I just stamped on a piece of white paper and then cut it out and stapled it over top, just so that you couldn't see the smudge then. For the back side, I took one 4x6 and and then I just cut it so it's one continuous picture. And then I'm just filling in my black sand that I had taken, and I am going to seal it up with my fuse. So sort of a quick little page. It didn't take me very long to do this one, but I really like how I'm getting used to the fuse and really liking how it works once I really know how to use it now. So I end up just flying along these last couple pages that I'm doing. These ones, again, are of my Black Sand Beach trip, and I really just wanted the pictures to stand out in this. I didn't want to have a lot of embellishments on them. Any embellishments that I did put on them, I wanted them to be very minimal, and I wanted them to just sort of help the story along, I guess. So all I did was stamp in white on the one, and I used one of the stamps from the Kelly Purkey's New Adventures set. I love that set for this album. It worked so well, so I'm really glad that I'd gotten it. I've also got a couple of these 6x8s that I've taken, and I have trimmed off about an inch on the long side, and that again is just so that it fits properly in my book, so it's not hanging out at the end, so that it doesn't get ripped. And I really like how the 6x8s look in there. And then so this last one that I'm working on right now is the Red Sand Beach that we went to. Again, I have a couple pictures from it. I wanted the pictures to be very simple. I didn't want to put a lot on them. But I really did want to showcase the pictures. So I'm also doing a little shaker pocket for the red sand that I had brought back. And so I've got that right there. And then I'm just sealing that up with the fuse again. And of course, when you seal up with the fuse, you're going to want to make sure that the whole thing is closed. Sometimes if your fuse isn't quite warm enough or hot enough, it won't fully fuse the two pockets together, so I would always just make sure that you've got that completely closed up, and you can just run your finger along and you'll be able to tell. So I wanted to spell out Red Sand Beach, and so I have these little tiny wood veneer alphas, and I only had 2 or 1A, I believe is what it was, and so I had to do a little bit of strategizing there. I ended up being able to make it work, but I had to use I think 2 really small, like even smaller than the ones that I had letters, but that's okay. The other color that I wanted to use, I didn't have enough, I think of 2 letters or something like that, so the wood veneer works well, I think, for that. And then this is the last day, so I wanted to make sure that I had taken a picture of my sister and her niece in there, and I just did a tiny bit of journaling on that, and then I also took a picture of my daughter as we were leaving. I managed to get a whole row to myself, which was really nice for a just under 6-hour flight in the middle of the night for my daughter and I. So I took a picture of her right before we left, looking out the plane, and I sent it to my sister, just, saying, "Bye-bye, Auntie," and just letting her know we had gotten on the plane and everything. And now I'm trying to find some cards. I want to do some journaling, and I also want more of a filler card, so that I can put this plane ticket on. So I end up folding it, and I think I ended up having to staple it as well as use one of the little arrows for it. But I really liked that red on it, and that's why I picked the card, is I wanted the red on it. And then I'm going to do some journaling on this side. I think that's what I ended up doing. So we did have to take 2 flights, so I'm putting our second flight on the back side of that, and I believe I cut that one down. I also had taken some pictures as it was just starting to get light out, and it was absolutely beautiful being up, in the clouds when you're flying. And I put some thickers on that spell out home, because it's always nice to see the mountains as you're driving, you don't drive over mountains, as you fly over the mountains. That's one of my favorite things to see, is just to see those mountains as you're looking down. And then I'm just getting that journaling done, and the journaling is in regards to our flight, and how we were happy to be home, and we were so happy to see my husband when he picked us up. So that was one of the best homecomings that I've had. It was really, really nice. And then just because I don't like them moving around in the actual little pockets, I, for the most part, like to put some adhesive behind and put them together. And now what I'm doing is just wanting to do a date. I think I did a date stamp or something like that. Got my roller stamp out. Just doing a little tiny bit of embellishments. As you can see, I didn't do a lot of other embellishments on there. Nope, that's not a date stamp one. And as I'm putting it in there, I know this is pretty much the end, but I wanted to do just a little bit more. I always like to do at the very end a little bit about, the journey that I went on and the travel that I did. So I'm just writing a little bit about that, just as a conclusion on it. I'd also found this cute little 4x6 card from one of my various Project Life kits, and it says, "Eat well, travel often," and I did want to include that in there. So that's going on the very, very last page, and then I've got this journaling on the other side of it. And then as I started to look through the book, I realized that I wanted there to be some consistency in the beginning and the end. So I still had that transparency that I bought at and used at the beginning, so I cut it to 6x8. And then I did a little bit more stamping on it, just because I wanted to, like I said, have that consistency, but also sort of have like a marker to say that this is the end. So I used my StazOn, and it stamps really well onto those transparencies. So I don't have any stills of the last couple pages, but I do have the whole book, start to finish. You will see I have added a few things in, but I hope you will enjoy it, and I hope you've enjoyed this series that I've been creating. Thanks so much for watching.